We're going to start by talking about the new urn. So what do I like about the new urn? What do I dislike about the new urn? How do I think the new urn could be improved? And maybe kind of like what's trying to speculate on what the developers like wanted out of this urn. Discord is extremely divided over the urn. Yeah, I mean, this urn is probably one of the most, I would say, controversial changes that they've made, or at least in my opinion. Have we considered that the new urn is fun? For me, it has been the opposite of fun so far. And I'm like, I can't think of a lot of changes that have happened in Deadlock that I'm like, yeah, this change was terrible. Like the moment that it happened, most of the time I like look back and I'm like, okay, yeah, this was a bad idea. But right now I'm looking at the urn and I'm like, yeah, this is not good. That's what I'm thinking. Is that objectively true? Of course, not necessarily, but yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the urn for a little bit. Let's talk about the urn a little bit. Let's talk about urn discussion. Yeah. So let's start with what I like, because, you know, let's be positive, right? What I like. So what I like about the urn, I like that it's tries to be more interactive, right? Like not an instant drop off. Okay. So there's that. It's probably like incentivizes players, even lower, like even newer players to interact with the mechanic. And I think we'll talk a little bit about like what the developers were thinking potentially, but it tries to be more interactive. It's not an instant drop off. It incentivizes players to interact with the mechanic. Even newer players. Banger music, absolutely banger music. Let me think. What else do I like about this urn? Gotta be positive. Oh yeah, I like you know, picking up with melee. I like it doing more damage to the person holding it faster. You don't like the music? Really? The music is awesome, I feel. So I like picking it up with melee. I like doing it more damage to the person holding faster. I like that it force resets after being dropped enough time, like after being ignored for long enough. So like I would say that's probably it. Tries to be more interactive. It's not an instant drop off. It incentivizes players to interact with the mechanic. Banger music. I like picking up with melee. I like it doing more damage to the person holding it faster, so you can't hostage it as much. And I do like that it force resets after being ignored, so you don't have like those as many things of like sniping the urn as it's resetting or whatever. Although the reset is too slow. No silence. Yeah, you know what? I don't hate no silence. I think it's fine. Like, you know, no silence is cool conceptually. Unsure if good for gameplay. So I think that's it for what I like so far. Maybe there's other things that I like, but we'll think about it. The person who picks up the urn can actually fight for it. Yeah, I mean, I think that's like, you know, the pick up overall is better. Like picking it up with melee is like, you pick it up really fast. Like it feels better. That part feels better. Now let's move on to what I don't like. So what I don't like, and then we'll talk about some potential changes that I like, some potential changes that I would make. Okay. So what I don't like, the first thing is, it's in the mid lane, where like right above mid boss incentivizes. I was silenced by Yoshi. I was about to start talking trash, and well, Yoshi took me out. So what I don't like, it's in the mid lane, right above mid boss. It incentivizes fighting a lot around the mid area, which I think results to like, you know, in death balling and favors, you know, like AoE comps. The overall time required to do it feels insanely fast, gives little opportunity for counterplay elsewhere. Let's say you want to split push a walker. You can split push a walker while the urn is happening. But if it's not the first walker, and if you don't melt the walker, well, chances are, you know, you're not going to be able to do much in time, because it takes like literally 5 seconds for the urn to be done. And it's pretty obvious if you're not contesting it, which means, you know, they can just take the jump at it and then go kill you after. So it just feels really, really fast, like super fast. Deathballing means like being in a group, like consistently, and like just being in a ball and fighting to the death consistently. So a lot of fighting. So it's in the mid lane, incentivized fighting, overtime. Yeah, okay. I don't like the heavy melee to contest it. Mid boss is already at. Okay, so why is heavy melee to contest this feel so bad, but heavy melee to contest mid boss mostly feels fine? Well, the thing about mid boss is that there's usually like a huge setup for it, right? Like mid boss is like a huge objective. Like you take your time with it. You only do mid boss when you have like a very significant advantage, which is like, okay, I want to force the fight and I feel confident about us winning the fight, or they're down multiple people and I feel confident about it. Now with the urn is supposed to be the objective that you do when it's like a neutral game, right? Like obviously you can do it as a comeback, you can do it in all sorts of things, but it's kind of the default objective. Like mid boss is only done situationally in situations where you have some sort of advantage, which makes the melee to secure feel a lot better, because usually it's like, well, you can, there's steals that happen, right? But most of the time you have ways to pretty consistently get most rejuves. If it was a good mid boss call. Now with this urn, you kind of just stand on top of it and it's like literally just parry slop. Like people are just like, it's just a shit fest, really, like respectfully. It's just a shit fest on top of the urn, and it doesn't feel fun. It doesn't feel like interactive. It feels like the strategy is pretty limited. You just spam all of your AoE right on top of the urn and everybody just tries to sneak in a heavy melee. And if you sneak in, the thing about the risk to reward ratio is that if you heavy melee and you hit it, right, it only adds 1.25 seconds to the timer. Okay, so cheesy plus 1.25 seconds to timer when you heavy means you can, steal it, luckily, at the last second. Like this happened to me once or twice where I'm like winning the fight and we just like make a slight mistake on the urn. And I don't know, someone forgets to parry or something. They get a heavy melee in last second. We lose the urn. Obviously, people are going to get better and they're going to stop, letting that happen. But it just feels wrong. It feels like when they get a heavy melee, it should revert to their timer. So, their timer should start. So let's say they have a 5-second timer. They heavy melee it, boom, their 5-second timer starts. You heavy melee it, oh, your 5-second timer restarts. Like it feels like, yeah, heavy melee doesn't take 1.5 seconds. It takes like under a second. But so it just feels like the heavy melee to contest it feels bad. The timer thing is cheesy, and overall, like the type of fight, basically, I don't like the type of fight that incentivizes. And yeah, like, very often results in mid boss right away is another thing. Like, you win the urn, you instantly go mid boss. Before, there was at least a little bit of travel time. Like before you would win the urn fight, right? You would need at least like maybe 10 seconds to get to the pit, right? Now it's like you're literally right there. You can already start it. So that 10 seconds might not seem like a big deal, but everybody that's played Deadlock at a high level knows that 10 seconds in a mid boss fight can change everything. Like 10 seconds is a huge amount of time that you're saving. Like 10 seconds is massive. So that completely changes like the opportunities. Like opportunities where previously you would have gotten the urn, but you would have never been able to get mid boss. Now those opportunities can result in mid boss. So that's feeling pretty bad. And overall, I would say that it kind of like makes the rest of the map feel even more empty. I don't know if I'm the only one that feels this, but now it just feels like everything of interest just happens in this, like, you've got the map, okay, and you've basically got like, this is where everything actually happens, and then everything else is just like whatever, like nobody cares about the rest of this. It's like, oh, who cares? You lose a walker, doesn't matter. Oh, walker, like, oh yeah, it's cool. It does matter from a macro perspective, of course. I'm not saying losing like walkers are irrelevant, but their importance is heavily diminished over the urn already, and has been multiple times in order to make the urn more relevant in the past. Like they've kept buffing and buffing the urn, and now they've made the urn right on top of mid boss, which is the only other neutral objective that matters, because there's only 2 neutral objectives, which are urn and mid boss, and they're right on top of each other. Makes it feel like street brawl. How do you fix this? Okay, I had a suggestion. You guys tell me what you think. I had an idea that kind of spawned in my head this morning, and this idea comes into play with this mechanic still kind of like staying true to its identity. So I didn't want to rework the whole identity of the mechanic, but I wanted to come up with an idea that would make it feel better. Okay, so here's the few things that I would adjust. Okay, so first of all, so there's my idea below, but the first thing I would do is I would make it so pickup location changes based on comeback/even. So basically, let's say you've got, the neutral locations are here and here, right? So you would have like the comeback pickup location for this team, comeback pickup location for this team, so that at least like there would be some dynamic, I guess, like movement around the map for these locations. So that's my first suggestion. So kind of like something like this, right? Second thing that I would do is change the secure mechanic from a melee to a defend the patron mechanic. Okay, hear me out. You guys are gonna have to bear with me for the art, okay? You guys are gonna have to bear with me for the art, okay? Here's my idea, all right? You put the urn onto the spot, and then your patron spawns in, okay? And your patron secures the urn with the little mojo, all right? Like they're like, securing the urn. And your patron has health, okay? whatever arbitrary amount of health. No, it has to be your patron. It's cool. Your patron spawns in. I mean, it doesn't have to be your patron. It could be anything. But, you know, your patron spawns in, secures the urn, like the 5 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever. Your patron's doing some mojo, securing the souls, right? It has HP, right? And people can just shoot it and use abilities or whatever. And it gains damage resistance based on the amount of allies you have nearby. Basically, you could have like allies on the bridge. So if you've got like a guy here, like another guy here, you know, these are allies. This is my art. So let's say this would be like 30% damage resistance, right? So this would be 30% DR if you've got like 3 people on the bridge. If you got more people, like you could have up to 6 people, which would give it 60% damage reduction. And so that way it would feel like an actual like fight. Like you have to exert control over the middle area, or not the middle area, but you have to exert control over the area rather than just being like a, hey, you know, I'm just going to spam like 15 AoE abilities right in the middle and also just spam melees and parries. Were you an art major in college? Basically. I mean, look. Is this perfect? Definitely not, but I feel like this has to be an improvement over what we have right now. Would you guys prefer just fucking parrying and meleeing 15 times? Like, or actually having a fight where different playstyles can like, you know, shine? So seems pretty big mechanic for just Urn though. I mean, Urn is literally the only neutral objective other than mid-boss. So why not? I feel like it should feel big. Shoot the patron to stop the Urn. Basically, you kill this guy. Okay, so let's say like this guy's got like, I don't know, let's say like 2,000 base HP, like plus 200 per minute. Okay, so plus 200 per minute, 2,000 base HP, spawns in when you do the Urn. If you kill it, then the Urn, then your patron takes over and goes hoo 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 and starts the mojo. And if both patrons die, then the Urn gets reset. I mean, I think just for the art, I feel like I deserve like some points just for the art that I made. Like, you guys see this shit? At Yoshi, yeah. You also suggested they change the terrain. Yeah, I mean, I think that the area as well is like, yeah, I agree 100%, Nathan. Like, I would agree, like the, you know, like mid lane needs to be like reworked if the Urn stays there. And I would just change the Urn's location altogether. But yeah, that's just me. What's the commission you for art? You couldn't afford it. I'm a very expensive artist. What do you think of making the Urn work like King of the Hill points from TF2 when deposited in mid? Yeah, so I thought about King of the Hill, right? So okay, so this is a solution, right? So you've got this solution, which is let's just call that, we'll call it the Deathy patron. Okay, that's what we're gonna call it, the Deathy patron. Now another solution could be something like a Koth, which basically, you know, you control the area and like it progresses. Like as you control more, it's like, okay, you secure this, then you need to like continue, and you need to like hold for, you know, let's say 5 seconds, right? And if it's contested, meaning like you've got I don't know, like if it's contested, then it doesn't progress, but if it's not contested, then it progresses. So if there's nobody on the point, it progresses. If there's enemies on the point, it doesn't progress. Now the disadvantage with this solution, I think that this solution would be better than what we have right now. To be fair, I think that the cost solution is better than what we have right now, which is probably the worst thing that we could have. But I like this idea better because I think that this idea is more like flexible. Like it allows a little bit more play styles. Like I think Koth also naturally just revolves in just like a bunch of AoE abilities being thrown at the tiny point. So like in a game like TF2, it's not as big of a deal because there's not anywhere as much like huge AoE abilities. But in a game like Deadlock, there's a lot. So I don't really love it, especially for a neutral type objective. For the point constantly moved. Okay. I just joined. Could you repeat your method again? Basically, I would say that you would need to be like, you probably wouldn't be able, let's say it stays here and the patron is like here, right? So the patron's here. I would say you probably can't damage the patron like past the barrel. Like you could damage the patron like around here, but like I wouldn't want you to be able to like snipe the patron from here, right? You would need to be like at least like somewhat close, right? Still like, let's say around this barrel-ish, like, you know, you draw like a kind of like a perimeter. I mean, they could draw like some sort of perimeter that's like more obvious. But that'd be kind of the idea. Like the idea is like you could also like put yourself in corners and like try to, you know, cheese like shooting the patron from a distance. And so I think it would really like incentivize like having actual area control rather than just like, all right, just deposit the fucking Urn right here and just hope for the best, man. Yeah, it could be the same range as the resist range. It could be 60 meters. So I would say that's my idea for the Urn. Mechanics of the new Urn are fine. It's just the location that fucks it. I agree the location is bad, but do we really think the mechanics of the new Urn are fine? Like, okay, I mean, look, I love Valve. Look, I'm literally the #1 Valve glazer. I might be the #1 Valve glazer. Like, anytime that there's a update that is anything controversial, I'm usually like, yeah, you know, like, let's give it some time. I mean, you know, they're just trying to move in the right direction. But this urn, to me, like, there's no way this is the right solution. There's no way that these urn mechanics, I mean, I don't know, like, maybe I'm just on a fucking hill here, but I feel like there's no, like, the urn mechanics feel terrible. They just feel bad. Old urn needs to be an option. I mean, old urn is better than what we have right now. I agree. I think old urn is better. I think that what they were going for with the new urn is like, they wanted it to be like, you know, really like accessible for like newer players. You know, I think new urn is more accessible and it forces more like interaction, if that makes sense. Like, I think it's like, it feels more interactive, like it's faster to run, so it doesn't feel like as much of a commitment. And so I think for newer players, you're gonna see like, you're probably gonna see more urns on average. I think like, look how fast this is, you know? Like, it's very fast, but it's the problem with this. Okay, could this urn objective be okay if it was just one option? Yes. Actually, you know what? The main problem, even though I don't like the objective and I don't like the way it's done and all that stuff, the main problem is there's no fucking alternatives. And it gives so many souls that you need to do it. It gives souls, it gives permanent buffs. The Deathy patron solution kind of sounds like mid-boss 2. Well, no, the urn that we have right now is mid-boss 2. The urn that we have right now is mid-boss 2. Patron solution is like, it's like a mini-boss fight, I guess, but there's no like, you're not securing a rejuve, and it's like way weaker than mid-boss. It's more like a jungle thing. Yeah, I've seen the wave 1 mid-boss. What you're saying is they need to make the urn give less value? Well, the problem if they make the urn give less value is that then you're making the only mid-game objective like not worth much. Compare this to old urn, but set aside location. Old urn was instant. 100% agree. So just to go back to my board, this is one of the things that I agree with you on, MTY. So as far as what I like and what I dislike, for those of you that missed the beginning, like, you know, one of the things that I like is it's not an instant drop off. Like, I think that's a good thing. I think the fact that it's not an instant drop off is a good thing. I like it. So, you know, I like that it's not an instant drop off. It tries to be more interactive. It incentivizes players to interact with it. It has banger music. Picking up with melee is cool. It doing more damage to the person holding it faster is also cool. I like the force reset, and no silence can be cool conceptually. Like, these are all things that I like. So I'm not saying scrap everything. I think that there's a lot of good stuff. No urn off jump pads make the runner a bit slower. Yeah, I think that's a fun idea. Do you not think it's heavily favored to the winning team? Depends how much you're winning by. Okay, so the game is like slightly more snowbally in some ways because it's constantly ARAM, but 50% resist is crazy. So if you're only behind by like 8 or 9k, let's say it's a 15-minute urn, and you're only behind by, I want to say, like 9,000 souls at 15 minutes. In that situation, the comeback urn definitely favors the losing team, I would say. But if you're behind by like 20 or 30k, then usually you don't have anywhere near enough map control. So there comes a point where you're so far behind where like the previous comeback urn was better because you had a chance of like at least like fighting on your side and like, you know, maybe like sneaking the pickup, and if you got the pickup, you'd be able to like get it in. There's also other things that you can cheese with it. Like you can cheese mid-boss with it, for example, where you can like bring the urn to mid-boss and just use the 50% resist. Urn should favor winning team to an extent, yeah. I'm glad they're trying something new. This is not great. Hear me out. If they're going to keep it like this for some time and experiment, what if comeback urn was the old favorable urn turn-in location? Neutral was in mid as it is. It's just ARAM AoE slop now. We can keep the reset timer. I don't think favorite urn should be tuned in mid. Fair enough, yeah. I mean, I agree with you for the most part. I don't know if changing the location of the... I think in general, like, urn being mid all the time is just like... It is slop, I agree. Like, it's slop. It's just... It sucks. I hate it.